All right, guys. So today, happy late Valentine's Day to everybody. I hope everyone's staying nice and warm because it is cold here in Boston. Um, Today is February 15th, and this is our weekly team call. And so a couple quick announcements. As some of you guys had seen that I posted, our ranking for our first ranking for the year came out, and as a team, we're number 71 out of close to like 300,000 coaches. So that is pretty awesome. Pretty awesome. So kudos to everyone because honestly, not me. So it's all of you. It's all of you who are working hard, helping other people. All of you who are hitting Success Club every single month, like that. You put us on the board with your push last month, and so it's a good start, and it's just a great place to kind of start for the year. And we have the whole year to kind of keep climbing and keep rising. So definitely awesome, awesome, awesome. Also, some quick announcements about where we are in terms of like this. Hold on, mute. I'm just going to mute everybody. Okay, great. So just reminding everyone that, we still have 2 more weeks for everyone to aim for Success Club, for everyone to be reaching out and posting, talking about our specials for the month. Remember, we have the 21-day fix, both the original program and the extreme program on sale for $140. We also have both those programs with the Kickstarter kit, which again, for those of you who don't know, it's the 21-day fix, the 3-day refresh, and a month supply of Shakeology, all together for $180. So definitely great initiatives, especially because the 21-day fix is a fantastic program given the portion controlled containers. So today I'm hoping at the end there'll be a little bit of back and forth. I want you guys to kind of think about what I'm going to be talking about and kind of think about where today we're going to be talking about personalities, and we're going to be talking about Danny Johnson's gems and how she describes different personalities. And so as I'm talking, it's not a very quick presentation. It's just about 8 slides, actually like 7 slides. As I'm kind of presenting the gems to you, I really want you to think about, which one you can relate to. They say that a little bit of each of them are within us, but that there's one that usually will predominate, or there's 1 to 2 that will predominate. And I will tell you that the reason why, I kind of started researching this today is just because this is something that I've kind of struggled with a little bit, understanding not only myself, but also understanding all of my many coaches on my team, all the many different challengers, because I know that I'm very strong in one type of personality, and I recognize that other people are not like me. And so it's like, understanding more about the different personalities so that I can be a better leader to them, so that I can speak better to them, I can motivate them better. And that's what I want for you guys. As you guys are building your team, it's going to be very important for you to recognize that you are who you are, but there's other people out there, and they may not that they are different than you, and they react differently than you, and they are motivated by different things than you. And that doesn't mean that they're wrong, and it doesn't mean that they're bad, and it doesn't mean that we need to change them. It just means we need to work with them, because all the personalities have strengths, they have weaknesses, and it's all about working together. So I definitely want you, as I describe the personalities, think about yourself, think about your partner, think about like your significant other partner, think about your children, think about like where these personalities fit, because the more you try to understand these personalities, the better. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. Hold on, let me see. Thumbs up if you can see my screen. Can you see all of it, or do I need to move it a little bit? No, it's fine? Okay. Okay. So what gem are you is the topic of this presentation. So I wanted to start off with this quote. So your smile is your logo. Your personality is your business card. How you leave others feeling after having an experience with you becomes your trademark. I think this is really important. This quote really spoke to me because sometimes I think, especially some of the stronger personalities, so often we want others to be like us. And sometimes that leaves a very negative taste in the opposite, in the other types of personalities. And I think it's very important to recognize kind of who you are and kind of keep in mind who it is that you're speaking to, because all of us have the best of intentions in who we're motivating and who we're trying to help. But we have to recognize just the differences, recognize in how we speak, the words that we use, how we motivate them, and especially our tone and how we speak with them. And all of that is all part of our personality. So that's kind of what I wanted to kind of start off with. So there's 4 different types of personality. So there's this 4x4, and it's very important that you understand, like you see this 4x4, because it's drawn out in this specific way. You have sapphire, then you have pearl at the top, and ruby and emerald at the bottom. And this is important because this is how you tend to, if you are one, or if you're 2 personalities, you're more likely going to be one of the personalities that's touching you. So for example, if you are a ruby, you're most likely going to have a little bit of sapphire or a little bit of emerald. It's very rare that you're going to have pearl within, in terms of your type of personality. And it's the same thing with, an emerald. It's like you're either going to have a little bit of ruby in you, or you're going to have a little bit of pearl, but it's very rare that you're going to have some sapphire in you. And so this 4x4 is particularly drawn out in this particular way. And so something to kind of, think about is, again, as I kind of go throughout the demonstration of the different personality types, which one are you? So I'm first going to start with sapphires. So sapphires, these are your people who are like motivated by fun. They're your ones that are loud. They're your ones that are like the life of the party. They tend to stand out in the crowd. These are your like teenagers and kids who like sometimes are getting in trouble. They just can't stand still. They just can't, it's like when I was listening to Danny Johnson talk about this, she asked the crowd, how many of you have gone to the principal's office? And like all of them raised their hand. And they're like, how many of you have gotten speeding tickets? And like all of them raised their hands. And so these are your people that they're enthusiastic and they love to take risk. And so these are your sapphires. When you kind of look at them, they are the ones that, in terms of their clothing and how they dress, they tend to be more trendy, more hippie. They're your girls who might wear like, have kind of like a mohawk, or have like some color, some weird color, some different colors in their hair, or maybe like the streak of color, but they're very trendy. They love to stand out in the crowd. And so these are your sapphires. They value relationships. They value their friendships. They value relationships. They tend to be natural optimists. And so they see the good in people, and rarely do they see the bad. They are your natural born optimists. And so because they're the life of the party, they're like born promoters. They're the promoters of things. Whatever they love, they're going to be like, oh man, trust me. This is awesome. Like, you're going to love it. Trust me. Like, this is so awesome. And that's just kind of how they are. That is their personality. And something that I thought was interesting that Danny Johnson had said is like, so many times we try to shut these people up. Let's be honest. A lot of times when we're not like them, we try to tell them, no, you need to conform to some of the other types of personalities. And so she said, something that I thought was really interesting is that she said, think about how many children we have out there who we have like diagnosed with like ADHD, or because, or how many, we're giving them all these medications because we're like, we're trying to calm them down, while we just have to learn more about how they are, and learn more and motivate them in the way that they are, and motivate them and teach them in the way that's going to keep them, keep their attention on track and keep them motivated by what we want them to do. So it's just interesting. It's a very good kind of CD that you guys should all listen to. But anyway, so those are your sapphires. Those are some of the good traits about your sapphires. Now the weaknesses. The weaknesses is that organization, they're not the best with organization. They are never on time. They're your people who will like set their watch like 10 minutes behind. or 10 minutes ahead or whatever, however it works, so that they can make sure they're on time. And even so, even when they do that, they're not on time. So they're still like, they're just it's just not their strong suit. It really, really isn't. And for them, consistent schedules and routines are like bondage. They do not want to have a schedule. They do not want to have a routine. It's just not who they are. It's like prison to them. They're also the ones who love to start projects, but they're not good at finishing them. And so that's also something that's a weakness of theirs and something that they need to work on. And a lot of times they tend to think more with their mouths and less with their minds first. So that's your person who's like, blah, blah, blah. They're just kind of ranting without thinking about what they're saying. And so those are kind of the negative kind of traits of the sapphire. But honestly, these, when you kind of take both the negative, the positive, and you combine, and you just kind of look at them for what they are, these are your visionaries. These are your natural born team players. That's who they are. And they are motivated by recognition and rewards. So if you have someone who's a sapphire on your team or a challenger who's a sapphire on your team, recognizing them, calling them out on your team page, calling them out on your challenge group page. If you have a child that's like this, recognizing them, even if you tell them to clean your room, and even if they should do it despite you having to tell them, recognize them and reward them, because that is going to help. That's what they feed off of, and it's going to help them stay more on track. And so with our coaches and our challengers, it's the same way. When we maybe just sending a little random, like a shaker cup or something very random as a reward. These are things that are going to keep them motivated, and they're going to keep them, really happy with you and with you as a coach. And so if you're a sapphire, I want you to keep note of this. If you're a sapphire, don't let someone like try to kill your fire. Like, you are enthusiastic, and you are enthusiastic for a reason. And don't let others try to kill that. And then also your spiritual gift, in terms of what your gift is motivation and encouragement. You are awesome at that. You're awesome at motivating, and you're awesome at encouraging others. So those are your sapphires. Here come your pearls. Your pearls these are your, like, the way that she described it, as like your tree huggers. These are your people who love to recycle. These are the people who, they're all organic. Clothing is all natural. They love people. They're very, 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 very loyal to people. And they are very non-demanding. They are the first to offer up their service, and they do not like change. They're your ones who are very apprehensive when change happens. And then the biggest kind of issue that they have is that they avoid confrontation to a fault, meaning that they don't like change, but if change is given to them for the sake of not confronting or not ruining a relationship, they will adapt. These are your people that they are your best listeners. They're thoughtful, they're sympathetic, and they are your most dependable people. They're like the main personality type that is the most dependable. However, with all these traits, again, their biggest drawbacks are that they avoid confrontation, and that they're the ones that people take the most advantage of, because of the fact that they do not want to confront people, because of the fact that they are not very demanding, and because they want to hold true. They want to keep that relationship. They don't want to mess it up. They don't want to lose it. And as a result, people take advantage of them. And so these are the people who are business owners, let's say, and they tend to give a lot of products away. They have their friend who comes up to them. And they're like, oh, I need this. Can you give it to me at like X% off? And they give a lot of products away for free, or they give a lot of products away at a discounted price. And so they're very motivated by helping others. They're very motivated by a cause. These are not your people that are going to be motivated by money. It's the opposite. They are motivated by a cause. And so one thing, because they like helping people so much, one thing they also, or you, if you do self, if you do recognize yourself as a pearl, one thing you have to be weary of and be careful of is that even though it's almost like you have to be careful not to do too much self-service, because you like how it feels when you help someone else. And so you really need to be careful with that. And so one thing that I read about when I was doing my research for this talk is that, again, you're like this type of personality is the person who will, if someone comes up to you for money, you're going to be one that's going to be more willing to give them the money. And you are also the type of people, not you the type of people, but a lot of times, people come to you for money and then they never pay you back. And you keep doing it over and over and over again, but yet they never pay you back every single time they come asking you for money. And one thing that that Danny Johnson, and in the research she had talked about, is that you have to be careful, because even when you are doing this, you have to, you're doing this because, like I said, you genuinely want to comfort people. You definitely want to help them. But one thing she said that I thought was very powerful is that the word comfort, what the true meaning of the word comfort means, to come alongside. It doesn't mean to take the problem away. And I thought that was very, very powerful. I think a lot of times we stand in the way of people learning their lesson, and especially pearls, they tend to stand, they want to try to protect and save, and recognizing that we are in a way shielding them from the lessons that they need to learn. And I don't know, I just thought that was very, very powerful. I found that very, very powerful. Again, that the word comfort means to come alongside, and it doesn't mean to take the problem away. And you shouldn't put that type of pressure on your shoulders to feel like you need to carry someone and carry all their problems and take away all their problems, because that's not what you're there for. And so again, you're motivated by cause, not by money. And you just really need to focus on being comfortable with others and confronting others. And then your spiritual gifts are mercy and service. That's what you do. So then you have next your emeralds. I think there's a lot of emeralds. So your emeralds, your emeralds are very fact-based and very analytical. They are very precise and very accurate. They are your ones that are predictable. They're the ones that, when you ask people, they have, they've been eating the same breakfast for like years and years and years, or they're very predictable. They love things that are extremely planned out. If it's not planned out, they're like, oh my God, like that doesn't exist. You need things to be planned out. They love to do research. So like one thing that I thought was funny was that in the video I was watching, she was like, these are your people that when they get a game for their children, or like something that they need to put together, they open the box and they read all the instructions. They read all the instructions, and then they'll put all the pieces, they'll lay them out in all the order that they're supposed to put them in. And then there's never, there's never a piece that's like not accounted for. Meanwhile, the sapphires, they just look at the picture and they're like, I can do this. And then they'll try to put it together, and there's always missing pieces. There's always pieces left over. And so it was just really funny. But again, these, emeralds tend to be reserved. They're practical. They ask a lot of questions. And actually, one thing that I thought was interesting was that if you're a sapphire, sapphires are actually very intimidated by emeralds. And I thought this was very interesting. And I think this is where it's good for you guys to understand what is the type of personality you're talking to. Because a sapphire, remember, your sapphire are your ones that were like, they're out there, they're the party, they probably got into a lot of trouble when they were younger. And so here you have an emerald that's coming and asking them tons of questions, and they look at it as if they're being interrogated. And so then their defenses come up, but it's genuinely not that they're getting interrogated. It's just that the emerald wants to know everything about what they're about to do. And so it's like not a good dynamic if you don't recognize where, who you're talking to and what you are. So these are your people that you like get them on their phone and they're like, they want to know everything. They want to know the ingredients. They want to know, they want to know everything about the business. They want to know everything about everything. You're just like, oh my God, if you're not an emerald. And that's how they are though. They are reserved and they're practical. And their clothing, as she says, tends to be darker colors and more dated because they paid good money for whatever it is that they bought. Mind you, it was on sale, as she said, and they're not gonna just toss it away, after a year or 2 years. They're gonna wear it out. You're gonna get their full money's worth of what they bought. And so just keeping that in mind, I thought that was really interesting. And so their weakness is that they tend to have their wisdom is in objects and material things, but not in people and relationships. They have to recognize that not everyone is like them. And they have to recognize, like if you have a child that's not like you, or a spouse or a significant other that's not like you, not everything has to be extremely planned out and, and very practical. And you need to do this, you need to do that, you need to do this. Not everyone is like that. And just because they're not doesn't mean that they're wrong. And it's recognizing where's your strength and where's your weakness, so that then you can identify the other personalities and the people around you and work together so that you work with others who may have strengths where you're weak. And so your spiritual gift is discernment and wisdom. Again, you guys are very practical. You guys think everything out, and it's a good thing. It is a good thing. But recognizing that not everyone is like that, and that other people are going to go about things in a different way, and it doesn't mean that they're wrong. And then your rubies. Oh, your rubies. Your rubies are determined and persistent. They are motivated by a challenge. They like to be in control. They take charge of everything and everything. And they are your goal setters. They're the people who love individual sports because honestly, you don't want to have to rely on somebody else for your win. And it's and you're someone that you will not settle for failure. It's very, very, you are someone that you will go and do your best and not settle for failure. You're a natural born leader. But on the flip side, because you want to take on everything, or because you do not know how to delegate, which is a weakness of yours, you tend to burn out the most. You're the person who's trying to do 3 things at once, and you want to do everything because you just don't trust the next person to do it, or you just don't think they're going to do it up to your standard. And as a result, you're really bad at delegating, and you're trying to take on too much when you can't. And so they are your quick decision makers. They make really quick decisions, and then they'll deal with the consequences later. And they're someone that they have to be very careful because they're natural goal setters and they're natural high achievers. But by them, if they start taking on too much and they can't actually achieve their goals, it's almost like a self-sabotage, because then you start tainting, who you are and what you can achieve. And as a result, you start setting smaller goals, or you stop setting any goals at all because you just don't want to not achieve them. So it's recognizing that, and recognizing that there are going to be things that you can delegate to others. There's going to be things that, when you have enough money, you're going to be able to pay somebody to come and do this. And yes, it may not be to how you would do it, but it's something that you don't have to do. And then you focus on the things that you're naturally good at. You're able to then spend your time working in your best areas. Because not everybody wants to be doing laundry. Not everybody wants to be doing recognition posts. Not everybody wants to be doing data collection. Not everybody wants to be doing this. Whatever you want to be good at, you can't do it all. You have to delegate it. Delegate the rest that you really don't care about, and really focus in all your time on the things that you love doing. And so you are a natural leader, and you're made to be competitive. That's how God made you. God made you this way for a reason. However, you have to make sure that you're fighting the good fight. Use it for good and use it to fight the good fight. And so our gifts and the gifts of rubies are leadership and being bold and not being afraid. That is, it's a gift. It truly, truly is a gift. And so, but we have to be very, very careful. We have to be careful not to burn out. So those are your 4 different personalities. I wanted to give here, I found this by the Bombshell Dynasty, which I thought was a really nice little kind of summary. And so again, just kind of summarizing, you have your emeralds that are motivated by facts. They love and figures. They love to analyze, think things through, plan ahead, organize, and create systemic ways of doing things. God, I'm not like that, I'll tell you right now. But they can't stand being late when people don't follow the rules or do the things the right way. They're the grammar police, not understanding things completely. They're not going to be the ones that are not going to understand things completely before jumping in. And then if you have someone like this, they'll say the best gift you want to give them is like a planner with like multicolor pens and highlighters and like all these like nice organization and things. Your pearl is motivated by helping others. They enjoy being part of something bigger than themselves. They love small gatherings and entertaining. They have a calm demeanor and are often introverts. They can't stand confrontation or people who are overly loud or people who pressure them to perform. The best gift you can give them is just a small personalized gift that acknowledges what they mean to you. You have your rubies that are motivated by a challenge or a goal. They thrive off of the pressure to achieve it. They're in it to win it. That's their attitude. They're natural born leaders and entrepreneurs, willing to work beyond what others are willing to work. They can't stand complacency, others' lack of drive, not living up to their own potential. Best gift you can give them, they love the finer thing. Oh, I forgot to say that. They're also the people who like will pay $120 for jeans. They love the finer things in life. They love the designer things, the fast cars. So for these type of people, you want to give them the finer things in life. A massage gift certificate, a thank you gift card. That's what their motive. That's what they like. And then your sapphires. They're motivated by fun and recognition. They love to dance, talk, sing, and have a good time everywhere they go. They're oftentimes disorganized and a little messy, but their positivity and optimistic outlook on life is contagious. They cannot stand the rules. They think rules are meant to be broken. Being told what to do or being on a schedule. The best gift you can give them, it says here at least, is a game for them to get together on their next gathering, to have fun with their loved ones, with their team. So those are your 4 personalities. So I want to see how many, like, I'm going to have you guys like all raise your hand because I'm just curious. How many of you identify yourself as an emerald? An emerald. And it's okay if you do. Sometimes there's some overlap. How many of you identify yourself as a pearl? Oh, wow. Lots of pearls. How many of you identify yourself as a sapphire? Sapphire. Okay. And any rubies? What's Amy's like, a little bit. Excellent. Cool. Okay. Well, I will post I'll post my like those little breakdowns of the different personalities so that you guys can definitely look at them some more. Did you guys find this helpful? That's all I kind of have. I kind of was going to leave it open after, or just kind of any comments anybody has to say, or anything interesting that you thought was interesting that I said, or something that you recognized about yourself, or does it make you think about people around you and how you're kind of interacting with them and how they may be a different personality than you? Or maybe some of you most of you have young children, so it's too early to tell what they're going to be. I don't know, maybe Sophie can tell what Kari's going to be. But okay. Nothing, any comments? Okay. Oh, wait, Amy. Go ahead.
So you said the ones that are like opposite each other are the ones that don't really go?
Well, they say that I was reading that there's a little bit of all of them within us. But there's definitely two that are opposite each other. And the two opposites would be a pearl and a ruby, as you can imagine, like a pearl and a ruby, and a sapphire and an emerald, because a sapphire is all about having fun. So usually most people, if they're going to be combinations, they're either going to be like some combination of sapphire pearl or sapphire ruby, or some kind of combination of emerald ruby or emerald pearl.
Okay, because I'm like struggling between ruby and pearl, and it just seems weird. Like, I don't know. I can't pick. I'm gonna read more.
They're very opposite, the ruby and the pearl. So yeah, it's kind of, and I think it's a lot of self-discovery. It's, kind of, and I think it's also just gonna, as you become more of a leader, you're gonna recognize what's gonna motivate you more, what's gonna drive you more, and a certain trait may come out that you didn't realize as you're kind of developing yourself. One thing also that I forgot to mention that I thought was really interesting is that she also mentions that recognizing the fact that many of you may have also been raised by someone who was a strong gem, and as a result they were trying to conform you into that gem that they are. And so I thought that was really interesting too, kind of, and I think that makes sense to me. A lot of times parenting, you want to instill what your values, who you are in your children, but recognizing that you may have been, you may be a sapphire at heart, but yet you were raised by a emerald that was like super emerald. And as a result, it's like it's been very hard for you to kind of come out in gem world and proclaim who you are. So. What's this? Are you raising your hand, Keisha? Oh, wait. Keisha?
Yeah. Hey. I definitely realized I have a lot of emeralds in my group, and this that she was pointing out with the sapphires of being like can't stand all the questions is like really driving me crazy. Because I feel like I'm having to like hold their hand and cut their food for them, and it's just really driving me crazy. But it really helps you understand that now.
Yeah.
So maybe I can tolerate them a little bit better.
Yeah. No, I think I think. Oh wait, hold on. I'm gonna mute you. I'm gonna try to mute you.
Sorry.
No, it's okay. But yeah, I was just gonna say, like, I think it is difficult. I think that's just kind of through maturity as a person, and both as a person and as a business owner, you're going to kind of mature better, and you're just going to be able to handle and work with people better. But I think the first step, is just simply recognizing those differences and realizing that there might be some, you may have to change your language, or you may have to talk differently, or you may have to and I think that truly is the first step, is just recognition. Cool. Kristen. Hey, Kristen.
Hi.
Hey.
So I'm somewhere between an emerald and a pearl. And I've looked at this before, and something I realized before, like being an emerald and being so analytical and wanting things to be perfect and structured and whatnot, is it makes me slow to do things. Like I will read and read and reread and reread a post before I post it. And like I'll have my husband read it, and he's like, just post the flipping thing. Like just get over it. It's fine. Post it. Or like I'll read someone else's post and like there'll be a typo. I'm totally the grammar police. There'll be a typo or something. I'm like, did they not read this? And it's like, but what it made me realize is like, I need to stop. Like I can't make it perfect. Just write it and post it and move on. The same thing with pictures. Like I wrote, like looking at this made me realize that that was a hindrance in me, you know, moving forward and learning to like consistency and posting and whatnot is so overwhelming to me because I'm like, how in the world am I ever going to make that many posts in a day or create these pictures to put on Instagram? And it's because that emerald in me wants everything to be perfect and I need to let that go. So I more just wanted to share that for other emeralds that maybe struggle with the same thing, is to just say it doesn't have to be perfect. Try to release some of that. I mean, you want to put thought into it, but you know, don't read your post 20 times before you post it.
Yeah.
That's all.
And I think also, I think you're right. I think especially as new coaches, it's recognizing that it's only through kind of, as you post more and you kind of get comfortable with not having to reread your post several times or not having that kind of, I think that how you feel around it, like, oh my goodness, I have to post this, or I hope it would go away a little bit as you kind of get better with posting and it comes more naturally to you as you kind of, but it only comes natural if you perform, if you act and you do things. So yeah. Who said they were pearls? Who are my pearls again?
Party City.
I'm both.
I'm surprised some of you said you were pearls. See, I learn things every day. I'm like, Sophie's, I don't know. I'm like, okay, I'm pearl, and then I know who my rubies are. Anyone else want to comment something?
Room and dining room. Like this great deal on the Tribeca Queen bed. Just
Catherine. Hey, Catherine.
It's definitely worth it to go to Danny Johnson and hear this from her because she spends like a good 45 minutes on each gem, and like the dialogue that she just like, I mean, she goes into such detail. It's like impossible to not recognize yourself as one of the gems like really strongly. So it's just like if you can make it to a Danny Johnson seminar, definitely do. This stuff is amazing. Like we spent a whole day on just gems and I was just in love with it, and it's just hilarious. And like the great thing is that if you have like for every gem, she tells you your strengths and then your weaknesses and then how to improve upon those weaknesses and how to understand your opposite gem. Like for me it's pearls. So that was really cool.
Yeah. Like
So,
I said, I have the DVD for gems, and so that's what I was watching, and so I got to see a glimpse of it, and it looks like a ton of fun. It looks like she breaks up the team, she breaks up the audience into all 4 quadrants, and so like all the rubies are all together, and all the pearls are all together, and they're just like it looks like it's a lot of fun. And
that was for first steps, and then I guess for building a dynasty, she makes you dress as your opposite gem for like one of the days. So yeah, she makes you like play the role of your opposite gem just to understand them like even more. It's just really cool.
Interesting.
It's really eye-opening.
Awesome. Cool. All right, guys. Well, thank you everyone for coming on to the call. And I hope everybody stays warm, and that's about it. Bye.